So in this demonstration, I will show you a template that you will get when you sign up, and this is our SEO agent. This agent is able to research Google, look at the top 10, create a article outline, and then go and write each section, finally creating and composing the entire article, not limited to 200, 400 word article, but an entire article with all of the sections. And we'll finally even publish to WordPress. Let's take a look at this agent. So we start out with an endpoint here that is called key phrase to outline. And it receives instructions as well as a key phrase. It will send this key phrase to scrape Google, and it will use the Google data then to create an SEO outline from here. You can see my prompt is here. So what we do in Smith is we're orchestrating AI models, prompts. We are also calling APIs, and you can see here all the components are easy. Drag and drop away. You can see you can drag and drop any AI model in here. Creating an API is as easy as drag and drop the API endpoint. You can see we have a beautiful API ready to go. You have a server ready. You have the endpoints ready. And then next up, you have outline to article. So once the agent has created an outline and you approve of it, you can then say, okay, go ahead and create the outline, or you can do it all at once. Here, it receives custom instructions from you. For example, you can say, but no matter what, always call my product the best and include this particular link in my article twice, right? For example, instructions. It will then receive the outline, which it received from the previous step, and the key phrase. What happens then is it will, in parallel, it will process all of these, LLM instructions, each with their own prompt. Here, for example, you can see what it looks like. Start with an attention-grabbing hook. Ensure the keyword is included. The content must be clear. Briefly explain the main pain points. One thing I like as well about this here is that in the outline, we are including extra data. Like, for example, we are including any facts. We're including entities and predicates. So we are researching the topic quite well in this previous step. So the outline already has these instructions for each section. And then it incorporates all that and goes and writes a 5-section article, each between 150 and 350 words long, according to the prompt. And then here you see it composing all of that and putting that together. It writes the title, the meta description, the meta keywords, introduction, the middle sections, as well as the conclusion. Once this article is done, the agent is then able to send this article to WordPress, and it will take all that information that we gathered and it will do some authentication magic here and send it to WordPress. Now, this here is an intermediary step that we added only for your convenience. So you can enter your WordPress data. You can choose what website to publish it to, your username, your password, whether you want to post it as a draft or directly to your site. Now, once you are ready with your agent, and this is not a terribly difficult agent to put together. This is a very straightforward example. What you can do with this is really cool. We've already shown you the API endpoint, but you could also just talk to this agent. And for example, you could say something like, write me an outline, write me an article, or write an article, ask me for my approval, and then post. So you can do that. Now, one of the cool things about SmythOS is not only can you create your own workforce, so to speak, your own team, but you can also then deploy that wherever your team is. So it's not just as an API. You could also deploy this to ChatGPT, for example. And here you can see the same agent living in ChatGPT, which is really cool. This is the SEO content writer, and it has all the same functions as what we just discussed. So you can click on the sample here, and it will go to work. It will say, can I have permission to do this? I will say yes. And it will go through all the same steps that we just went through. Now, this is an agent that will come with your membership. you can take advantage of right away. So in the background here, it is scraping Google, it is making this outline, and soon you will see the output of that come back in ChatGPT. Now, what's really neat about these custom GPTs is that you can share them with your team very easily, but we're not restricted to GPT. In fact, we have already deployed our agents to Discord, to Alexa, to websites, to APIs, to background processes. You can integrate it in your system wherever you want. In fact, Microsoft has Copilots, which if you're on Microsoft Teams is a thing as well. And it allows you to deploy your Smith agents anywhere and everywhere you can think of. Now, I could keep going now and ask it to write the article, but what I will do next is I will show you an example of how we have adapted this agent to meet our own needs. And so here I will show you an example of a little bit more advanced version of this agent, but in principle, it works the same. It still writes an outline. But then what I do here is I will say write section. And instead of writing the entire article at once, it will write section by section. And we made this modification because for this particular content, we put one human in charge of the content process, and we wanted them to provide approval and guidance for each section before moving on to the next. So we didn't want it to write an entire article with AI and then publish it. We wanted to write an entire section. And this approach allowed us to do a few extra things. For example, if the request was to compare a brand to another brand, we're actually looking up from our data pool thousands of articles about competitors' landscape. We just drag and drop this in our data pool, and it can look up information from that database. And so it enriches the content, not just with active scraping, but with passive data lookup on data we already have about ourselves and the competitors. And so we were able to create different types of sections, such as comparing brand features. We were able to get articles with backlinks. We were able to also create introductions. We are able to take screenshots from the pages that we were comparing. And we either also have in our prompt for comparing features, we are also able to create tables, and which was a cool approach. These articles are live on our website. So they are following our exact process on how we want to compare the articles, but the two brands, but we are also supplying it with factual data that we have in our database. And so over here, we have a variation on the previous agent. Instead of posting the entire article at once to WordPress, it can post the first section to WordPress. And then as each new section gets approved by the human, we taught it how to append to the existing article. And the way that works is it gets the old content and it adds the new content to it in a new API call. So here's just an example of how flexible Smith is to adapt it exactly to your needs. Even though this here is quite simple, it's a powerful agent, but you can modify it to include images and links and extra data sources and really truly make it your own. No two series of automated content projects are the same. Your client has different needs. You could easily add in an additional agent that does editing and proofreading. For example, this particular agent that you will get posts things directly to draft and does not publish it. So you can have another agent that reads articles in drafts, reviews it, and then decides whether it is good enough to go live. You can have another agent that checks articles and sees if any updates are needed to keep the content fresh. The ideas are really limitless. And so whatever process you have in your agency today, you can really model it with agents that can then do the work alongside their human counterparts, really allowing you to scale your business dramatically. Now, next up, I want to show you a little bit about the future of SEO. So SEO, query-based search, is slowly dying and is being replaced with conversational search. Now, conversational search means that search engines are not only getting more conversational items in terms of how people search for it, but they're also becoming more omni-channel. What does that mean? It means that more and more people are going to get the search information they're looking for from alternative platforms, not just Google, meaning Bard, Bing, Meta AI, Alexa, Siri, Copilot, TikTok, and so forth and so on. So as the world is progressing and the landscape of organic search is fragmenting, you'll want to create what is called a brand agent. And so here's an example of a brand agent we created for Halo. And you can see here, it consists of people asking questions and the classifier deciding whether it is about the product, if the user wants to speak to a human, or if they're ready to make a purchase. Depending on what the user intent is, if it is a question, it can look up in its database for answers and then answer the question. Now, what's really neat about this here, this factual grounding, this is using a data pool where all we did was provide the website of Halo Colors. And so it read on its own everything there is to know about Halo Colors. And so this was this easy. Let's take a look. So I can now click here on my embodiment, and you can see here what that looks like. And I can ask questions such as, what is a Halo color exactly? And you see it will call this endpoint here, and the classifier will decide that it is a question. It will go to factual grounding. It will look up data in its vector storage, and then it will answer the question. You can give your agent a personality. You can give it the behavior or personality here. You can style it. You can deploy it to your website. You can also, again, deploy it to ChatGPT, to the future Bard extension marketplace, to Copilot, or anywhere else your customers will be. And SmythOS is not just a tool for creating mass content. It is really a way that you can create and automate your processes at your business, and also a way that you can be interacting with your customers wherever they may be. So moving on, I wanted to show you one more thing that I just personally thought was really cool. And in this case, I created an endpoint that can take a YouTube URL, make an API call to get the transcript, then turn that transcript in another form of text. To do this, I have a link here, a review of the Samsung 24 Ultra versus iPhone 15 Pro Max, and it's a camera battle. So I'm going to go here and show you debug how this works. So I'm going to turn on debugger mode, and I'm going to simulate the input here and give it this link here. And I will say Twitter thread showcasing the most interesting facts. Maybe we'll just stick to that. So I'll run this, and you see here, I will click on run to kind of automatically run through everything. See that as every step goes, the debugging environment shows you all the completed steps or tasks. This is also how pricing will work with Smyth. You'll have a number of tasks every month that you can complete with agents. Now, in this case, the scraper is using a slow scrape process to circumvent being blocked. We're not waiting on Smyth. We're just waiting on the API call to complete. This is complete. We're parsing it. And now we're calling a large language model to turn this transcript into a post. I'm very curious to see what it's going to come up with. Let's zoom in here. And again, this model is using OpenAI GPT model, but we support dozens and dozens of different models. If you look at the Smyth component or node sidebar, you can see here we support any API. We can look up data, we can index data, we can clean data, we can reuse plugins that we've already created, and we can also use any Hugging Face model or Zapier action. Very easy, drag and drop. See, these are all drag and drop. I didn't actually want this one, but I did drag it, so I'm going to remove it. All right, let's take a look at the output here. So here's my Twitter thread. You see here the Samsung Galaxy has some last entries. So what it did now, this is fascinating, right? You can see it, so to speak, watched or read the transcript of the YouTube video and turn it into fresh content for your channel. And so what can you not do with that? You can turn it into SEO content. You can turn it into social media content. You can turn it into a fact checker, and very handy use case here.